You know what Nasiruddin Shah's performance in Main Wapis Aunga reminded me of? Magical realism. And strangely enough, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Marquez for two reasons. One, that the legend of the writer wrote about memory all his life, only to be diagnosed with dementia at the end of it. I felt a similar irony of life in Shah's performance. A man obsessed with familial duty and memory all his life, only to be haunted by it towards the end of it as he suffers from dementia. The memory of the innocence of first love, corrupted by the hallucinations that the disease brought. And also for the reason that Shah's look in the film reminded me of Marquez. The second reason is the imagery Shah uses when describing the not normal time of partition. मार्जिन आएंगे नीली चमड़ी आंखें छोटी और जबान लंबी होती है The terminology he uses so well vibrates with the magical realism imagery Marquez uses in his works. Shah's character also reminded me of Manto's Toba Tek Singh, a rich piece of partition literature, a story that I read in college and one that brought tears to my eyes. But strangely enough, what stayed with me after watching Main Wapis Aunga was not the partition. It was the curse narrative. It reminded me of something personal. No woman in our family can ever be happy. That's the curse we live with. I've heard this sentence all my life. The cursed narrative has been running among the women in the Kalra household for more than 70 years now. I have seen four generations of women grapple with it. No woman, let me say it again, no woman in my family has been able to prove the curse wrong. At least not yet. And somewhere while watching Imtiaz Ali's film, this haunting resonance of that familial curse narrative came back to me. I realized that perhaps what we often call a curse is sometimes grief that has forgotten its own origin. I've been trying to find funding to document the curse narrative through a fiction PhD project on intergenerational trauma among Punjabi migrant women from the partition for the last 2 years now. And when I saw that curse narrative so well put via the Garewal family men in Main Wapis Aunga, it reminded me what it means to put pain out there when there is no validation of it. The angst or devilish desire to tell the story of grief, not as a product to be marketed or to get box office numbers out of it, but just understood or be resonated with it. It's not like a real Ishar Garewal or any first generation of partition migrant would get any mental peace out of it. But for third or fourth generation migrants, that release will perhaps give some sense of mental relief for their own sanity. At least that's what I think. As we see Diljit's character question Pali, Nasiruddin Shah's brother in the film about the curse in the Garewal family, he reinstates that he, as a third generation partition survivor, has already inherited that trauma in some way. When Pali speaks, he talks not about the inability to articulate the trauma, but that we as a generation will not be able to understand the depth of what happened then. Something that reminded me of a familiar feeling every time I read or researched the aftermath of partition. The film, like the literature out there, made me, and like how several other viewers on social media mentioned, they wanted to reconnect with the forgotten and lost generation of men and women in our families, the first generation of immigrants who came to India. These men and women lived all their lives trying to make ends meet, survive, and rebuild their lives with whatever crumbs they carried from their beloved homes in Pakistan. They just worked and survived because that was of prime importance. It took me a long time to realize that not everyone has the privilege to think. Some only function in survival mode. Long after they've comfortably settled into their lives, gotten their children married, retired from work, they can truly never relax. They would not know what to do with the spare time but emptily stare at the peepal tree outside their house, a tree they planted 50 years ago, but look through it as if imagining the what if. The land they lost, the identity they gave up, the promises they made when they were young, the guilt of not being able to live up to the lives they'd imagined for themselves, the innocence of youth lost to sheer horrors of misplaced human experience, what those years of uprooting, hatred, rape, massacre, and death meant to them. For the most part, I saw it in my own family. Every time you asked the older ones, especially women, what happened then, the mood instantly shifted. This solemn silence that announces doom would take over the entire family and topics would be changed suddenly. I had read about women being exchanged, made to dance naked in temples and courtyards as a show, an unusual brutality you cannot really imagine in today's day and age. But who really knows? A lot of scholars who've studied such brutal historical events that scarred the psyche of thousands of people affected by it have spoken about how silence is internalized as a trauma defense mechanism by those affected by it. From Urvashi Butalia, who has spoken about this in partition context, and Tori Loeb and Shoshana Feldman, who wrote extensively on trauma and silence on Holocaust, the silence in such first-generation trauma survivors is universal. No one wishes the curse to be vocally carried, but then it does. Almost like a generational trauma cut off in silence and gets signed off as invisible inheritance. So to come back, Main Vapis Aunga goes a step further when Pali, Kino's younger brother, explains in the film. It is not that they cannot talk about the trauma of the partition, it is that we will not understand it. Because we will only see it through the lens of black and white, of hatred and love, not the greys in between, not the face of humanity they encountered for the first time, an unthinkable fate that changed the course of their lives forever. And that is perhaps one of the strongest strengths of a film like Main Vapis Aunga, because even as a regular commercial piece of art, the film understands how trauma is carried, how silence itself becomes inheritance, how no one asks questions because there are no answers, or perhaps because words would limit the intensity of lives lived. The second bit of the film that stayed with me was the curse that the men of the Gariwal family carried, that they could not care for their women during the partition, and therefore all generations thereafter who were either born or married in their family died young. That idea resonated deeply with me, because every Punjabi migrant family seems to have some version of it, some version of the curse, a sentence repeated over generations until it begins to sound like fate. In Main Vapis Aunga, the film manages to deal with heavy-duty subjects such as these with a breezy aesthetic romance story that is instantly lifted by A.R. Rahman's soundtrack and Imtiaz Ali's eternal optimism fueled by his characters' performances. Besides Nasir Saab, whose performance we've discussed at length, Vedang Raina was just about perfect. And while I love Diljit for the artist he is, I did not see him shine in the same way despite him being sincere as always. His narrator-like role, who explains the dynamics of the film to an already advanced audience, did not sit entirely well with me. Sometimes I feel Imtiaz Ali underestimates the intelligence of his audience. So besides the performances, I also like the edit. It seamlessly interweaved flashbacks and contemporary sequences, something Imtiaz Ali has become particularly adept at because he uses this narrative device so frequently. And obviously, we cannot not talk about music in an Imtiaz Ali film. But this time, somehow, A.R. Rahman's music left a confused aftertaste for me. It worked superbly as an organic narrative device in the film. Even the background score was okay, furthering the story and emphasizing emotions. But as a standalone album, Main Vapis Aunga feels like a little mismatch of remixes and weirdly placed permutations and combinations of different styles of music. One moment, there is a jazzy sequence before the Haman chorus hits an Ishq Mastana. In another, there is a Vedang Raina giving a soulful melody breather in an experimental track like Mascara. And yes, the one classical track that people will probably remember Main Vapis Aunga for is Tere Paas Mein, both the male and female versions. Perhaps the album will grow on me like sometimes music albums do, but I'm not really sure for now. Main Vapis Aunga felt like a contemporized version of a good soulful medley of classical music mixed with Instagram Reels music. But maybe that's how the music of our times is, short lived and easily forgettable. Besides this, Main Vapis Aunga resonated deeply with me because of its thematic understanding of memory, inheritance, love, and loss. Another bit that caught my attention was how we see Imtiaz Ali finally making peace with the idea of love that he has spent a lifetime speaking about, singing about, angering about, and discussing through his films and interviews. From the simple love between men and women to love taking on various emotional and spiritual layers of the self, his understanding of love seems to have evolved immensely. So, in many ways, this feels like a huge progression from a filmmaker who made Socha Na Tha and Jab We Met to the filmmaker who has now made Main Vapis Aunga. And yes, the emotional arc of the film, the corners of your heart it tugs at. That again is a range not many contemporary filmmakers can still achieve without being cringy. But what stayed with me after the credits rolled was not the romance, and definitely not the Diljit track Kya Kamal Hai. It was a way of cinematically giving expression to the unheard curse narrative that I have discussed in some detail. It showed us how trauma survives in partition migrants and their subsequent generations. Not through history books, not through archives, not even through memory. It survives through stories repeated so often that they begin to feel like destiny in a family. I have watched four generations of women in my own family carry that story. And somewhere I too have spent a large part of my life wondering whether what we call a curse is actually grief that has forgotten where it came from. Maybe that is why my Vapis Aunga spoke to me so deeply. Not because it reminded me of partition, but because it reminded me of what remains long after it. The silences, the stories, the guilt, the longing, the things family carry forward without ever naming them.